If you want deeper connections and more meaningful connections, then do this one thing. If you feel like you've been making connections with people, but they're not as deep as you feel like they could be or should be, then I invite you to watch this video because I'm going to share with you what I've come to realize over the past years since I've been really diving deep into self-development and healing, and also through the coachings that I have, the clients that I'm working with. They implemented, or when they implemented what I'm about to share with you, then they had a lot of transformation in their lives, in their relationships, in romantic relationships, family, friendships. So stay tuned, and I'm very, very excited to share this with you today. Hello, my name is Martin, and I'm really here to share my stories, to share my breakthroughs, my learnings, my failures, everything. I want to share it with you to inspire you to grow, to inspire you to really be alive and not just be living and not experiencing life to the full potential. So I'm here to inspire growth, inspire to really tap into your potential. And in this video today, I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the past years that really helped me transform the relationships with people around me, but also more importantly, the relationship with myself. And that one thing is the realization and the understanding that vulnerability is not a fucking weakness, it's a superpower. It's a superpower. And the reason why is because once you start really acknowledge that vulnerability is something that can positively impact your life, then it will change everything. And I mean everything. So when it comes to vulnerability, there's like this really big misconception out there that it's really like weak people are vulnerable because you're so sensitive, you're like a crybaby or whatever. I've heard it all. And most likely, if you are a person who shares how they feel, then you will probably have felt that or heard that in your life as well. And some of you might not really dare to be vulnerable because of what you experience others say about vulnerable people, or when you did show up in a vulnerable way, that people rejected you or they treated you in a disrespectful way. And what I'm asking of you is to really, really, really start being vulnerable or start it again. Being sensitive and being vulnerable are different things. They can mean similar things, but the way that people refer to vulnerability, it's something completely like it's two worlds apart. Because being vulnerable does not mean that you're just going around and crying and really exaggerating any kind of negative feeling that you have. The sadness, the negative emotions that come with vulnerability is just one end of the stick. Because vulnerability, and Brene Brown, she is like a master of the topic of vulnerability and shame. She said it in a very, very powerful way where it's like if you shut out one, then you will ultimately also shut out the other. Meaning, if you put a lot of effort into suppressing your negative emotions, then you will also, over time, suppress the positive emotions. You will not be able to feel or experience the positive moments, the positive emotions to a high level because one part of you is always focused and a lot of energy is being used to suppress and ignore the negative. So when it comes to vulnerability, it's really either you take both the positive and the negative, or you don't have it at all. basically. So in my life, what a few years ago, actually in 2018, I shared with you in a different video that I've been through a breakup, a narcissistic relationship ended, and I went through a lot of, like, it was a roller coaster of emotions, to say the least. And at one point, I also lost my apartment the same year or a few months later, and everything became too much. And usually I'm an emotionally open person. I have a background in acting, so emotions is what I did for a living. However, that was just too much for me and I completely shut down. And what I realized in that moment is because of everything that's been happening in my life, it was work, it was personal life, it was like pretty much everything. And by me not really dealing with it in a healthy and productive way and really healing what's what I felt was broken, I started to numbing myself. I started to suppressing. And that very quickly led into a full-blown burnout. The burnout manifested itself by me day drinking. I was at the office and I started to drink like high percentage alcohol in the morning. I didn't feel any emotions. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I was just numb. I didn't give a flying F about anything. The only thing that within me kind of was like, wait, that is strange. I'm usually emotional, but I don't care. I really, and it's it's not about um, it's not about because there's like two different not caring. One is where I'm safe in myself, I'm secure with myself, and I don't really care what other people think of me or say about me because I trust that the right people find me and the right people will connect with me and that everything works out in the end, that life happens for me and not to me. The other version of not caring is where you just don't feel anything. And that is what happened with me in 2018. Actually, 2019. 2019 it was. And that kind of started to scare me. So the only emotion that I kind of felt at that point was like that kind of fear of like, what is going on with me? I don't recognize myself. And I realized that the only way to get through that and past it and move on and find joy in my life is if I let that pain, if I let that hurt, if I let it and let it out and feel it. I've already shared a few times that my mantra became feel it to heal it. And back then I realized I need to really dive deep into self-discovery to really to heal all that shit that was happening. And that took a lot of courage and a lot of vulnerability because I had to, because I wanted to at that point, share with other people. I shared with other people. One of the first people I shared with was at that time, my team lead. I was like, listen, this is what I'm going through. And I do not want to go down that road. I do not want to continue like day drinking. I don't want to continue to feel sorry for myself and just be in that awful state emotionally. And I asked for his support and he gave it to me. And then I also worked with a therapist. I shared what was going on. So I started to open up to people and then also to friends and family. And that brings me back to the topic of vulnerability and what kind of connections can blossom when you start to be vulnerable. Because at that time, I could have just pretended everything was fine. I'm an actor. I could have just put on a smile and just pretended, but I didn't. I didn't. I shared with people. I shared with them the pain. Even now, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because it was like an awful experience. And the thing is, through sharing with people, I created an incredibly deep connection with those people. I don't think I would have that kind of a deep level of connection with them if I hadn't been vulnerable in that situation. Similar thing happened at the end of last year when and in the beginning of this year when I was left, relationship ended, and I was completely lost and I felt I'm shutting down again, but in a way that even in 2019 that was nothing compared to what I felt in the beginning of this year. I had anxiety. I was just like in a terrible state. And at one point also I felt like I'm numbing. I'm not feeling anything. I'm just seeing everything black. I don't care. I don't want to continue this way. Just go on with life and pretend. But something within me said, no, don't do that. And I shared with people. I shared with my mom. Like I had hours and hours of conversations with her, and I love her and I appreciate her so much for this because the way she helped me, I can't even put it in words. Also, another friend, now I feel like he's become a very, very close friend of mine. We met last year and he was there for me during that situation, during that pain and me crying on video calls and on conversations. So you can see I'm also emotional, like because there's, and it's not tears of or emotions of pain, it's emotions like that, those connections that I've made. And like with this friend, he was there for me, listened to me, and just supported me without judging me. And that could only happen because I was open and vulnerable. And also because the the people that I surround myself with are very like-minded and they are very, very open and loving people. And that's the thing with vulnerability. So many people I hear say, like I hear them say that they're scared to be vulnerable because then people might not like them. They might be too much for other people if they really, if they share how they feel. The thing is, and I'm going to put it in a question, would you rather be liked for you, who you are not, or would you rather risk being disliked by the wrong people for the chance of being liked from the right people for who you truly are? Because yes, there's a risk to vulnerability. There's a risk that all those flakes in your life will disappear. They will leave. They will, or you will leave them because you're like, I don't want to deal with you if you are not accepting who I am. And you might be alone for a while. But if you're vulnerable, if you're open, if you are true to yourself, then the right people will connect with you and love you and appreciate you for the amazing person that you are. And if they're not, then they're not the right people. I'd rather be by myself and on my own than be surrounded by people who I have to pretend to be someone that I'm not. So there's a couple things that I want to share with you that helped me a lot, and I practice them pretty much every day. And they helped me to be more vulnerable, to be more open, and also to be more accepting of myself. So one thing I do on a daily basis, and I've been doing that for a couple months now, and even in the past I've done it for like weeks or months. I've been doing it like every day, and then it slowed down a little bit, but then I continued, and like, but now I really committed for the past 2 months, every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, I meditate. And meditation is not that spiritual woo-woo kind of stuff. It's really all about tuning into yourself, listening to yourself, Asking yourself, how do I feel? How does my body feel? How does my heart feel? Asking yourself, where can you improve? How can you change? Who do you want to grow into and become? What patterns, habits, or stories, etc., do you want to acknowledge but then let go? Through meditation, it is such a powerful way to gain clarity, to connect with yourself. Because when I meditate, what I'm telling myself, what I'm showing myself is I have time for myself. So I'm like, I have time for you. I show up for you. I'm there with you and for you. I listen to you. Because if you don't do that, imagine like you're friends with someone and then you want to hang out with them. And they're like, no, I don't want to hang out. I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. I'm too this. I'm too that. Would you want to be friends with them? Probably not. With ourselves, we do that all the time. Oh, I don't have time to do this for myself. I don't have to time to treat myself well. I can't, like, for whatever reason. So meditation is one way to show up for yourself and say, I value you. That's why I'm making time for you every single day to listen to you. It's such a powerful tool. And that's how you start. And that's another thing. The next thing basically is to figure out how can you be a better friend to yourself? How can you show up differently? Maybe the way you dress, the way you take care of your body, the way you take care like physically and like with nutrition or exercising. But also internally, how do you show up for yourself? How do you talk to yourself? How do you feel about yourself? When you see your reflection in the mirror or in like at the store in like the glass front, what is your thought about yourself? Do you give yourself a high five or like a yo, what's up? Or are you like, who's that? Like those are things that it's important that you become aware of. So meditation, and then also very, very important, how you treat yourself and to really become yourself, your own best friend. So I'm going to leave it by that because just implementing those two things are going to make a huge difference because you start valuing your own self. You're going to listen and tune into yourself, and you're going to show up the way you want to show up, first of all, for yourself and with yourself. And once you do that, you can show up differently on the outside with other people. And like I said before, I would recommend that you risk being disliked by the wrong people, the people who don't want to get to know the true you, who just want to have that happy and cheerful mask kind of person in front of them. I dare you to lose them and become your like the true version of who you are, and therefore have the opportunity and the chance to meet people who love you, respect you, appreciate you, tell you, they show up for you. No matter if you're happy, sad, devastated, or anything in between. Do that for yourself because you are worth it. You are worth it to be who you are, to live as who you are, who you want to be, as the authentic and true self. You are worth expressing that self, that version of yourself. And in order for you to do that, you need to become vulnerable and embrace vulnerability as a superpower. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit a like button if you like this video and subscribe to this channel. It would mean the world to me. And as always, lots of love and a big hug.